There are a lot of Robins, and I know that, you know that, the world knows that, and although I could have started this list with the best comics for Robin starting Dick Grayson, I had already done a list of where to start Nightwing, which in my personal opinion is really where Dick gets to shine and be his own character. So thanks to a Patreon of mine, I've decided let's focus on Tim Drake as Robin. He's the one that a lot of 90s kids probably relate to the most, and he's also an easy target for where to start my comic list, even if my choices might not be the typical choices that you see everywhere else. So I'm going to start my list with Young Justice. While some might recommend more Teen Titans, in particular John run, I personally enjoyed Tim more on Young Justice. Maybe it was because he was more the straight man to Connor Kent, you know, get it, straight man, because he's bi now. Anyway, my point is, he had a great dynamic with Connor being the more goofy and funny type, and him being more of the, hey, we gotta stop doing that, and that dynamic really worked for me. Explored later on in John's run too, but it's more lighthearted and fun in this run, and sometimes I just vibe with that more than the dark and broody stories. If you want some good humor and Tim just, you know, leading a pack of teenagers to fight crime and kick some butt, I think that Peter David's Young Justice from the 90s is definitely worth reading, and you could actually just buy the whole series. They re-released them in bigger formats a few years ago. Definitely worth reading if you want to kind of be more the goofy side of superhero stuff. Now I'm going to jump to almost the end of Tim being the major Robin until Damian came over, is Red Robin. And this is where Tim kind of got his own new personality. He went beyond just being regular old sidekick Robin and became his own hero, the Red Robin. And it's probably my favorite solo series from Tim. And this is where Bruce is no more. Everybody is convinced Batman is dead. So Tim, you know, he's a genius. That's what he is. He's a detective like Bruce. He disagrees, and he begins his hunt to find out what happened to his good old buddy Bruce. I think it's nice to see because it really gets to showcase Tim and not just being a solid fighter, but also using his smarts to try and solve the case of Bruce. If you didn't know, Tim is actually a really great detective, the one who discovered Batman's identity and was given the Robin title because of it. This is like a great growth for the character, a more mature look into Tim being more of an adult. And then of course, sadly, we got the disservice of them reverting that back with the new 52. Another run that I really like is the Detective Comics Rebirth. And while this might seem like an odd choice at first with, you know, Tim dying in the first arc, which isn't a spoiler, they kind of pronounced it in every headline, you know, he's not really dead. The second half of this, though, is really, really good and gives Tim a lot of time to shine. A lot of older plot lines are picked up, which feels like a nice full circle for the character. Well, this one might be a bit harder to say, yo, pick it up for first-time readers. I did ask a few people who have never read Tim prior if they really enjoyed his take here, and a lot of them did. But what I'm trying to say here is if you read Young Justice, like I, you know, said above, and Red Robin, which I said above, and maybe some of John's Teen Titan runs, which is good, but I didn't fully love it, then you'll get a payoff here, which really works well, and that to me is one of the best feelings. So while it might not be the best where to start a comic for the very first one, it should be on this list as a follow-up to the other two that I've said. And if you haven't read any of his other stuff, apparently most people who I've asked really enjoyed it regardless. And my last choice, or my standalone choice, is a 3-issue arc. It's Batman's Identity Crisis, which can be read by itself. It's a standalone story, and I'm not speaking of the event Identity Crisis, which I do enjoy, and I think it does a lot for Tim's character, but this storyline is actually by Alan Grant and really focuses on Tim and his issues, or, well, you know, identity of who he is and what he wants to be. I think this is great because I feel it's the foundation to the character himself, him questioning who he is. Well, Dick becomes Nightwing, and Jason's infamous death, and at this point is not returned as the Red Hood. This feels like just kind of the odd one out for Tim because he's always feels that way. And can he fill the shoes of who came before him? Or is he his own person? Does he even want to fill the shoes? This 3-parter really just does excellent work building up Tim's character. And again, I think it really is the foundation to a lot of his character growth in these later stories. So this is a perfect one if you want to kind of just dip into the 80s and just read a 3-part, no more than that. It's not a longer series. and I think this is the perfect standalone story to start with. So while this is my list, and many would probably get mad that I didn't put Dixon's very long run on here, I have to be honest, it did not resonate with me all that much. While I appreciate Dixon giving Tim time to shine and thought that his work on Nightwing was solid, I can't say the same for his Tim work. However, if you believe that his series should be on here, please put it below, or any recommendations on Tim's comic runs or standalone stories that they could read by themselves, please list them below. I would love to see them. I might have missed a few. You know, there's a lot of Tim. He's been around a long time, but these are my recommendations, so go pick them up, and I hope you guys enjoy, and everybody else, have a great day.